Welcome to the Big Biz Show. Taking care of business. You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now Captain Finance himself, Sully.
That is right. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, welcome to the Big Biz Show. We're coming to you live from the Loft 100 studios in what is now sunny Southern California. After a brief bit of much-needed rain, Costa, Mary Godwin, of course, our executive.
Did you enjoy the rain? I know you loved it.
Greg Totter.
I loved it.
I dug it.
I don't like to drive in it because I'm old, but I like it.
It was nice. It was nice getting a little rain.
And Sully.
Hey,
Captain Finance to you.
Can I give some very exciting news?
Yes.
Howie and Devin are together again.
Yes.
At the Small Cap Conference in New Jersey.
Oh,
right
what could
now.
go wrong?
They are filming some like Mike DePasquale from
Excellent.
Beacon Live is going to be there.
Okay.
David Lucci, remember ACXP? He's
course.
going to be there.
Big fan.
So some of our clients, some of our friends, some of our show family are there. But they're going to do a Howie and Devin go to Small Cap
some
Conference.
content.
We're going to be able to dip in live with them later this week.
Oh,
So
my
it's gonna
gosh.
be good. Speaking of which, Howie Font, who lives in New York City, just across the way there, on his way out to go meet Devin, joins us now on the Big Biz Show. Our analyst, Howie, are you looking forward to this, or are you not looking forward?
I'm riding it out of the next contract.
Devin's like a frisbee throw away from you, man. Are you so excited?
You can tell by his expression.
There are alerts. It's like there's a flood. It's like there's some sort of fire.
Yep.
I hear cell phones going off.
We need
Devin
to get the theme
approaching.
song to The Odd Couple with Tony Curtis and Jack Klugman.
Yep.
Howie, you're way too young to remember this, but there was a play on Broadway called The Odd Couple.
Sure.
And you are basically Tony Curtis,
Yep.
who is put together, neat, orderly, and Jack Klugman was basically the guy in the Dem Bums hat with a sport. He was a sports writer.
Sports writer.
I think one of them was a stock guy, and the other was a sports writer.
Yep.
And they were roommates. And it was one of the greatest premises of television history.
I can't believe I missed that.
Good call.
We need to put in front of the Howie and Devin go to New York. Hey, we had a big swoon with big tech sell-off at the beginning of the week here. I mean everything from big caps to small caps dropped like Dick Cheney's hunting partner.
Yes. Love that one.
Dropped like acid before Woodstock. Dropped like a tummy tuck on a plus-size model.
Yeah.
Dropped like Mike's confidence every time he picks up a microphone.
1,000%.
But let's talk about, even NVIDIA went down 17%. That's billions in market cap. What the heck happened? Why the big swoon in tech?
Yeah, so not only was it a big swoon, it was the biggest ever single-day market cap loss, and I think you've got the number for NVIDIA. Pretty crazy. It's all on the back of a newly announced white paper from a Chinese AI company that made a model called Deepseek.
Yeah.
So they instead of using the thousands of people, huge amounts of power, billions of dollars worth of chips, they purportedly, this is not confirmed, people are skeptical, but the claim is with $6 million and 200 people, they were able to make something as good as ChatGPT.
Well, I'll tell you, we're going to be talking to Suresh Venkatesan a little bit later in the program today from Poet Technologies that actually talks about, Deepseek talks about Poet and how this works. But it's interesting because, Howie, I know you don't remember encyclopedias when you were a kid because you were born with the internet, but this ChatGPT and AI is as groundbreaking to the way we do business. In fact, it is more so than even Bitcoin and the blockchain. Stand by here where you get more of Howie Font coming in here because only time's gonna tell. But I think it's upon us, and when you start being able to create everything from, well, look at EVAX, one of the people that we interviewed here,
right,
using AI to advance the science that they already know. Now they're using crowdsourcing to figure out to move their science along. I think maybe that's how we get flying saucers, Mike.
We are this far from Skynet going active.
That's exactly
I'm just
right.
telling everybody that, okay?
And you'll be able to make Funyuns at home just by... Loft 100 Studios, The Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks if we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at sullygroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
Sully, you said we were doing a doc on a day in the life of a banker on what I do every day. You're gonna give me this guy? No. Why do I care if his sister's gonna quit because we fire him? Fine. Yes, I understand. Yeah, I'll make it work. Take. Nice.
So you ready to be besties or what?
So apparently in my contract, there's an obligation to do a few one-off interviews. Luckily, the topic is fairly broad, so I thought we could discuss something extremely critical to the entire economy and the lifeblood of our economic system, Wall Street bankers. So if I had to describe my life on a, day-to-day.
Okay, I'm going to be kind of real with you guys. I just cut the record there because I was getting a little bit bored with whatever he was saying. But to summarize, Howie really likes his job. He thinks you guys should like it too. What else did he say? The stock market's stocking. Bitcoin's bitcoining. What else did he say?
Well, recent cuts have affected the T&E budget. So we're on the subway. Don't talk to me.
But I think me and Howie are becoming really good friends, I think he's really starting to come around and, I think he likes me, It's kind of cool making a new friend out of all this.
So, I have a feeling Devin didn't even hit record on this one. I'm doing it myself, and frankly, this guy's a nightmare. Go film some historical stuff, like Washington's inaugural site.
But where are you gonna go?
I'm gonna go to work.
But I just don't understand how I'm supposed to see what you do if I'm looking at the George Washington Monument.
You're the one that called asking for a day in the life of a Wall Street banker. Going literally to Wall Street to bank. Is that very hard to understand? I mean, all I'm saying is when I go to San Diego, it's one thing that he's there. But he's following me back home? This is ridiculous. What's going on?
You gotta get in the shot, Howie.
We're gonna have to walk all the way around.
So, what do you do? How are we gonna get in?
Listen, I tried to get us in, but I owed Jim Kramer 10 grand. He's not letting anything happen. We can't shoot in there.
Why do you owe Jim Kramer 10 grand? And what does Seinfeld have to do with this?
Oh my God. It's not even worth explaining.
It was interesting seeing, the Wall Street banker in his natural environment, just cruising through the subways and scowling at children.
I severely dislike children.
He did take me to go see something about a bull and a bear on the street, and then somehow money gets made. Usually, when we want to see something like that in San Diego, we just go to Tijuana, but it's my first time in New York, so I'm trying to keep an open mind.
Behind me, you'll see a staple of Wall Street tourism, the bronze bear. Behind me is a staple of historical Wall Street tourism, the bronze bear of Wall Street. No, it's not a bear, it's a bull. It's a bull. Behind me is a staple of Wall Street tourism, the bronze bull. Historically, being bullish has meant that you have a positive outlook on the market, whereas if you have a bearish outlook, you have a negative outlook, like Costa.
Hey, what are you guys filming? He's talking about his job where he milks a bear and bull for money.
What? That's not what I do. What are you talking about?
Embarrassingly enough, actually, I still, at the end of this, have no idea what a Wall Street banker does. I do know apparently they're very secretive. I still don't know what you do.
It's a good question.
Yeah, but it's like the whole point we're here. Do you work for the CIA? Reporting here for BizTV at Broadway and Beaver, there seems to be a giant windstorm, and it's not your finance, it's actually freaking wind, man. It's pretty cool. Anyways, you're watching the Big Biz Show here at Wall Street.
Over 175 countries and all the ships at sea on the American Forces Network is always a very, very special thank you to the brave men and women of our United States Armed Forces. As the Big Biz Show continues live from the Loft 100 studios, Costa, Marybird Godwin is sitting there, and of course we have Sully.
Greg will be here shortly, of course, our executive producer, but right now, Howie Font, straight from New York. Hey, Howie, can you talk about SALT, state and local taxes? We were talking about this, continuing this tax talk, because state and local taxes bite out another 9% or close to it here in the state of California, state of New York, not state of Texas, because they don't have state taxes.
Yeah, so the SALT deduction, sorry about that.
No, go ahead.
So the SALT deduction has been a thing since the Civil War. Lincoln used it as a way to kind of lower the burden of the war taxes. And it was eliminated in 2017 to pay for the reduction in the corporate income tax. So that was lowered only to $10,000 from an unlimited cap, so you could deduct whatever your state taxes was on your federal taxes, a real boon to blue states, higher tax blue states. And now there's a $10,000 cap. Well, for the last 7 years, that's been fairly irritable to most blue state residents and even blue state Republicans. So we have a lot of Republicans from California and from New York saying, hey, we're not voting for any bill unless we at least address the SALT income deduction. So it's probably going to go to somewhere around $20,000. The blue state Republicans are asking for $50,000. That's a little bit too much. So you can expect that to happen. So that's another good thing. And then another thing I want to highlight with the reconciliation process, just to deviate a little bit, is that this is for budget stuff only, Mary. So anyone that's, really upset with how things are going the last week and a half, no policy can get through in this process. So it's not like everything's going to be rammed through in this big beautiful bill. It's just budget stuff.
Are we worried about no tax on tips in terms of revenue that comes into the country?
Well, the idea is that you lower taxes so that companies can grow more, so that they have higher revenue, so that even with a lower rate, they're paying more income in. And that's been true so far. The concept is called the Laffer curve for anyone who wants to look it up. But tax receipts have increased every year. Technically it's possible that they could have been higher, but I'm happy to have
the Laffer curve refers to Art
economy.
Laffer, who was Ronald Reagan's Fed chair, and Art Laffer, not Fed chair, but economic advisor. Art Laffer basically said that which is easier to collect will be collected. You make it too expensive, you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah, come get it.
So that's where it holds. You and I have had this conversation before, Howie, off air, about how Donald Trump during his presidency originally took a lot of credit for the economy, but really the one thing he could take credit for is this tax cut you've been talking about here, because it really did change the face of a lot of things. There was a lot of unintended consequences that he took credit for, like companies giving money that they saved on corporate taxes to their employees, which wasn't his idea, but it happened. It was the law of unintended consequences. People repatriating, though, companies repatriating, more manufacturing. Could more of that happen? Or is this all just about fighting the good fight to hold on what we had back then that was sort of unwound recently?
No, I mean, I think this is fighting the good fight, and it's a recalibration and adjustment to, where things were done in haste. So I think this will clean up the status quo. This is to preserve what has already been had. There's, I bet you in the end we actually stay at the 17% corporate tax rate, and it's just about seeing what kind of deductions we can get for individuals. So
that makes us competitive with the rest of the world, though, man. I mean, that's what's going to be.
I agree.
Howard, thanks. Hey, good luck. I know you're going to the Small Cap Conference, and while you are headed over there, we want to show you the reason that Howie shakes his head when he realizes he has to be with Devin in this next series of Howie and Devin go to New York City. Well, we have the same clip we had prior, where he was showing Wall Street.
Howie is a saint.
Check this out. After that, we have a huge show. Stand by. Loft 100 Studios, the Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks if we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at sullygroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
Hey there, live from the Loft 100 Studios in sunny San Diego, California. Big Biz Show continues. There's the Day Trader Trio, boys. There we go. Nice job. Steven JJ Weisman. The Scam Man. Scamicide.com is a website that my parents, who are elderly, and my children, who are now in their 30s, have been using for, well, my kids have been using since they got to college and maybe right before in high school, because Steve's been on the air with us for close to 15 years as a guest. His first book that we featured, The Truth About Avoiding Scams. In fact, Steve, that'll tell us what year you came. When was that book published? That'll tell you how long you've been with us.
Gosh, I don't even remember. It's been so long ago. Yeah.
But The Truth About Avoiding Scams is one of your first books. Of course, and then Identity Theft Alert and a number of others. And you are the resident scam expert in the country. I have to talk about what's going on with the fires here on the West Coast. I keep hearing about everything from insurance scams to construction scams to donation scams. Talk about that.
Yeah, and it's not as bad as you think. It is far worse. And you start out with the charity scams because, these kinds of wildfires and disasters do bring out the best in people who want to help and contribute. And so the thing is, even if you're on the federal do not call list, you can get calls from charities. But when you get a call from a charity or appears to be a charity and you look at your caller ID and it says Red Cross, a very simple technique called spoofing can allow anybody to make the call appear to come from a legitimate source when it isn't. And the same thing goes with a text message or an email or what you see on social media. As a matter of fact, we're using deep fakes. There were some pictures of the Hollywood sign going up in flames on social media. So you never really know. So when you do get contacted by a charity, if it sounds like it's something legitimate, you ignore that and you go to a site called charitynavigator.org. That'll tell you the real charities that are dealing with it, that have been vetted out by this company, because what they'll do is they'll tell you which ones are the scams, which one are legitimate, where you can go to make a contribution, and how much of what you contribute is actually going to go to help people, and how much for their administrative costs. So you don't want to give to a charity that's going to be taking more than 25% of what you contribute for their costs.
And when we see those things happen, Steve, as an attorney, is there any recourse if you gave money away for, say you gave a couple $100 away with all good intentions and it was just a scam? Is there any recourse whatsoever?
There is, but it's a matter of actually trying to catch the people that do it. These days, between AI and assistants in hiding where they are, and many of them are from overseas, and they're not going to be extradited to the United States. A lot of these scams come from China, Eastern Europe, and Brazil. And they're just not going to be held accountable. So the money is pretty much gone. And with GoFundMe, if you make payments there and it turns out to be a scam, GoFundMe actually will compensate you. But I think you're better off dealing with the major charities that do the work. And there, if you get scammed, unfortunately, that money's gone.
Hey, Stephen, I want to change the subject just a little bit, but you mentioned spoofing of phone numbers, I think is what you called it. I just got a call recently from what looked like it was United Healthcare, and they were asking me, saying that the coverage for one of my kids was going to be up, which is true because one of my daughters is 18 and going to college. So I was going to call them back and do all this stuff, and I thought there was something fishy about it, and so I Googled the number, and it came up that it was a scam. And so, but how did they get it to say United Healthcare in the, on my phone?
The thing is, this is spoofing. You can go online, anyone can go online. Because technically, to be able to, the technology itself is not illegal. I tell this in my what I call a crime class. If you are not doing this for a scam fraudulent purpose, if you're just doing it for fun with someone, that's not illegal. So this technology is amazingly easy to get. The thing was, in your case, what made it believable was that the facts were such that perhaps this was something that was necessary to be done. And here's where AI comes in, because AI is allowing scammers who previously weren't terribly sophisticated or have that kind of knowledge to be able to harvest from the internet all kinds of information, which can then make their scam phone calls, emails, and text messages appear to be far more legitimate. And that's why anytime, you just can't trust anyone. Anytime you get a request for personal information or a payment, you've just got to ignore it and verify, and then you can find out if you can trust it.
Okay, that's leading actually into my very next question for you, because then the next day, my daughter texted me, she's 16, and she just started driving, her friend's driving, and she said, Mom, can you pay this? And it was a note that said Toll Road was asking her friend to pay a toll. And I thought, what the heck? And I remember you talking about these toll road scams that are becoming a thing. And, I would think older people are falling for these and not the younger kids, but they were like, oh my gosh, I got to pay a fine. And so, their immediate thing was, I need to pay it. So now the younger kids are going to get spoofed or, caught up in these, right?
Absolutely. They really look legitimate. And you mentioned, we've talked about this before. I've been talking about this since last April, but it does seem that now, just in the last month or so, we are getting so many reports of these text messages coming with these tolls that need to be paid. And people are falling for them. But an interesting thing when you say we look towards the older people always as being targeted, and quite frankly, they are more often. I got a call today about a scam, and it was, like you said, it was like a 16-year-old who was about to fall for this scam, and her grandmother said, don't do it, this is a scam. So I was kind of thrilled to see grandma be more sophisticated.
I caught in that letter, and I'm not kidding you, 2 grammatical errors.
Yes, that's what tipped me off.
And Steve, you told me a million years ago to have my kids look at this and the parents, if there's a grammatical error in an email from a bank or the IRS, which doesn't ever email you, or a letter, that's usually a tip-off if it's a scam, right, Steve?
Yeah, it's like there was one I saw that was really pretty bad. For the most part, it looked good, and it would seem to be from PayPal. And then you look at it, and it says, "We regret to inform you that you will be getting a refund."
Steve Weisman, the Scam Man. Thanks, buddy. Scamicide.com. We'll see you here in the next week or so. Steve JJ Weisman.
Stuff happens every day.
More Big Biz Show to come. Stand by. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, the Big Biz Show rolls on. We are live from the Loft 100 studios here in sunny Southern California. Thanks, everybody, for being along for the ride. Sitting here at the bar, I am Costa. That is Mary Burt Godwin. Of course, our executive producer is Greg Todorov. And the man running the whole show. Hey there, Sully. Hey, thank you. Right there. Good to talk to you. 125 million broadcast homes in the U.S. Don't forget we have our American Forces Network in 175 countries and all the ships at sea. We had a great time talking last week to Dr. Suresh Venkatesan. He is the chairman and CEO of POET Technologies. And POET has created this proprietary platform that is perfectly suited for the age of AI and ChatGPT. And POET has made some pretty big waves in the industry in terms of a backbone infrastructure that sort of unlocks, I think their website says this, as unlocks the full potential of AI. We had such a great conversation with him that I needed to bring him back. I sort of feel like this is one of those things where he should bring his whole team in studio to walk us through what we're about to witness here. So once again, he joins us via Zoom here, Dr. Suresh Venkatesan. Thank you so much for swinging by again. And we want to continue the conversation, but before we do, can you bring us up to speed for the folks who didn't see you last time, Mike included, about what you guys do and how it fits into the world of AI, ChatGPT, and the world that we're about to enter into?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, AI has been all the rage. I mean, I don't need to tell you that. But one of the requirements for AI is producing, these optical transceiver components in extremely high volume and at low cost. And typically, that paradigm of high volume and low cost has been, institutionalized, if you will, in the world of semiconductors. With semiconductor manufacturing over the past 30 years does that through what is called Moore's Law, where every couple of years there's a new node, productivity goes up, consumption goes up, volumes go up, cost comes down. Photonics hasn't seen that. Photonics does not have a Moore's Law equivalent, if you will. And so what we've done at POET is created a proprietary platform that, quote unquote, semiconductorizes photonics, right? It creates a Moore's Law capability in terms of productivity, which is high volume production at low cost, to the world of photonics that hasn't seen this before.
Well,
and so
let me jump in here because I don't want to, for the people that don't understand this, that's critical, especially considering what came out yesterday with Deepseek. Because if you think in terms of what you're talking about here, in terms of changing computing, changing the way we're about to do business, you just made it cheaper. You just made it easier on the environment. And we're not even getting started yet. I don't want people to let it pass over their heads what you're talking about here. We're talking about graphics processing units. You've heard the stories about blockchain and about digital currency being such a burden on environmental because of all the computing and the footprint that it leaves. We're about to enter into a like space with AI and ChatGPT. And before we even get started, you've got a company here like POET that's already sort of slayed that dragon. Am I being too simplified here, Doctor, or is that about right?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. The point is creating an infrastructure that can scale with the needs of the market and can scale with the needs of AI. I mean, you brought up Deepseek. I think there is a paradox in the world, right? It's called Jevons paradox. This British economist in 19th century, basically saw that as technology makes progress, things get more efficient. And the paradox is as things get more efficient, you would think you need less of it. But what actually happens is as things get more efficient, more and more consumers come into play. And so you end up needing and using more of it, right? And so I know that there was a slay in the market yesterday with Deepseek, but the reality is it's a more efficient potential software solution, right, for AI, which means it's going to bring more users. More users means more hardware, more data, more of everything, not less of everything. And so I think that paradox needs to be, rationalized. It happens over and over again in technology, and so we see DeepSeek and other advances in software like DeepSeek to actually play into the strengths of POET, which is create more demand and then be able to solution that demand with, better manufacturing capability and technology.
So I'm going to make a comment here. DeepSeek did swoon yesterday, but everybody in that industry and anybody below $6 a share because of the algorithmic trading historical junk that happened yesterday across the board. So I don't want anybody to think it was criteria specific to an industry or anything like that. Mike?
Dr. Suresh Venkatesan, Chairman CEO of POET Technologies. The ticker symbol is POET. Dr. Venkatesan, as far as AI and this whole new world that we are quickly being thrust into, do you welcome government intervention? Do you welcome the government eyeballs, or
potential mandate even,
or mandate, or you're the mindset, please, no government, we've got this?
Well, look, I think we're in an industry where there needs to be some form of regulation, but the regulation needs to be measured and must not stifle innovation, right? So I think that balance is critically important. There are some thorny issues with AI, obviously. Government needed to get involved and law needed to get involved to solve the writer's issue, right? In terms of, blatant violation of proprietary capability and technology that, was easy to overcome with potentially using AI and ChatGPT and, plagiarizing ideas and concepts. And so, there are going to be areas where, there's going to need to be some intervention. But, I think on balance, providing that intervention without stifling innovation is going to be the critical piece.
Hey, can you talk about your customer base? Because you guys are growing leaps and bounds, and 2025 is looking pretty exciting for you folks.
Yeah, we announced some really nice customer traction this past year. I think we start with Mitsubishi. They're one of the premier companies in the world supplying optical components such as EML lasers, which are kind of the backbone of the data center infrastructure today. And in partnership with POET, they've been able to innovate. So I think the power of the POET platform is it also allows our partners to innovate and create better and newer solutions. So on the heels of that, we also have, partnerships with Luxshare and Foxconn. These are, of course, household names in the industry, serving giants in the industry, right? And so we're very happy to have them. And we also have a customer relationship with Mentech. All of these customer relations that we announced this past year has been, really targeted towards 800 gigabit per second and going to 1.6 terabit per second. So it's really on the bleeding edge of data communication infrastructure, which is where the world is and is headed in the future, faster. So because of AI.
Dr. Suresh Venkatesan, Chairman CEO, POET Technologies, their ticker symbol is POET, joins us here today on the Big Biz Show.
Am I accurate in saying that because of your efforts, this plane lands where it makes AI more accessible for everybody? Is that about right?
Yeah, I think it's a circular argument. I think typically, I think it's, if you look at, just turn the clock back a couple of decades, there used to be computer hardware, power, processing, and then for a long time, it was the world of software.
Yeah.
And apps and, software essentially rule the world. Now, software has become so powerful that you need newer and better hardware. And then that cycle repeats, right? And so I think we're now in this phase for perhaps the first time in about 20 or 30 years where significant improvements in hardware are needed to continue the growth and power of software. And so that's why you see a lot of hardware chip companies and companies that are providing hardware infrastructure for AI doing really well, because there is a shortage of hardware and hardware infrastructure to be able to generate and move all of this data. And when that infrastructure is available, then I think more and more powerful software can be developed, and then the cycle continues. So for sure, we're in that cycle of improved hardware access that plays really, really well into our strengths right now.
I mean, first of all, again, AI and ChatGPT. Have you guys got involved in ChatGPT?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Have you? I mean, because it's the difference between when we had Encyclopedia Britannica and Funkin' Wagnalls,
totally,
and the internet.
Yeah,
and that for us, right? Now going into ChatGPT, it's almost like it's almost the magic wand. And Dr. Suresh Venkatesan and their company Poet Technologies is bringing it to light. I want you back on the air. I want you in San Diego, man. We got to spend a time with you and your staff here talking about this thing. It's amazing.
He is Dr. Suresh Venkatesan. Again, the company is Poet Technologies. He's the chairman CEO, and their ticker symbol is POET. Dr. Venkatesan.
How poetic.
Very poetic.
Smart.
In over 175 countries, all the ships at sea on the American Forces Network. To the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces, as always, thank you for what you do, what you've done for us. It's the Big Biz Show from the Loft 100 Studios.
Ready?
Casa, Rick Conrad, Sully.
A lot of talk from our viewing audience about Anixa Biosciences. Got a lot of email last time. Amit Kumar, chairman and CEO of Anixa Biosciences, was on the air with us. ANIX is their stock symbol. ANIX, ANIXA. And the big question is about immunotherapy, particularly focusing on harnessing the immune system for early cancer detection. So I'm going to start out right off that because Anixa is focused on the treatment and prevention of cancer. Of course, we've talked to him, and it's a favorite guest. Amit, when our folks are emailing about your performance or about your on-air appearances and they're talking about immunotherapy, it's sort of easy for us who live in San Diego, and I realize we broadcast everywhere, but we're a cancer center here in San Diego. We hear immunotherapy in every single radio ad, from the San Diego Padres baseball broadcast down to the morning news here. Mm-hmm. But for the rest of the country and the rest of the world where we broadcast, can you just walk us through immunotherapy to start?
Yeah, absolutely. Immunotherapy is a procedure or a process where we harness the body's immune system in a number of different ways to destroy cancer. The distinction between chemotherapy, which a lot of people know about, is that chemotherapy is essentially a chemo agent is essentially a poison that tries to kill cancer cells, but it also tends to kill a lot of healthy cells. And the goal is to kill cancer cells faster than healthy cells. That doesn't always work. The concept of immunotherapy is that we're not trying to destroy the cancer directly with whatever the therapy is. We're trying to use the therapy to boost the body's immune system and enable the immune system to go after the cancer. And that has resulted in tremendous success in a number of different types of cancers using a number of different immunotherapy approaches. And we utilize a couple of different approaches as well for our therapies.
Amit, are we on track to one day completely get rid of chemotherapy, or will there always be a need for it?
At least in the near term, there will be a need for it. But over the next few decades, I anticipate the immunotherapy area will become not only a major component of treating cancer, but perhaps the primary component of treating cancer. And to answer your questions, it's possible one day that we will be able to avoid many of these very toxic chemotherapies.
You as a company are involved in novel therapeutic vaccines that harness that immune system of ours. Talk about that a little bit, because that's the highlight here, is that you have a novel approach to enhance my body's ability to fight potential cancer, correct?
Yeah, thank you, Sully, for that question. We have a number of different vaccines that are in development. The most advanced is a breast cancer vaccine, and it's designed to be a prophylactic vaccine, meaning a preventative vaccine. The long-term vision for that vaccine is that we want to be able to give it to any woman in the world and prevent breast cancer. Initially, we're focused on women who've already had cancer survivors, gone through their treatment, have had surgery and all of the various other things that are standard of care. But these are women that are at high risk for getting the cancer again. And we want to see if we can induce an immune response in these women against the cancer itself, so that when the breast cancer reoccurs at the earliest stages, 2 cells, 4 cells, 8 cells, that we'll be able to have the immune system ready in that patient to destroy those cancers, and so they never become a tumor. That's the vision. And now we've also got another program in preclinical studies in ovarian cancer. We're working on programs in lung, prostate, and colon as well.
Amit Kumar is the chairman CEO of Anixa Biosciences, ticker symbol ANIX.
When you talk breast cancer, you're also talking about ovarian cancer that we talked about last time. Is this all the same sort of therapy, or is this something completely different?
Yeah, actually, we have 2 programs in ovarian cancer. One is a vaccine, and that's in preclinical studies. But we also have another immunotherapy called CAR T therapy, which is a relatively new type of immunotherapy that created a lot of buzz a few years ago when it was able to be very successful against certain leukemias and lymphomas. However, it has been unsuccessful in solid tumors. However, our program has some unique attributes, and we're working on this program at the Moffitt Cancer Center. The clinical trial is going on at the Moffitt Cancer Center, and we've only treated 6 patients so far, so it's very early. But we're already starting to see indications of efficacy, and we hope this therapy will be the very first therapy in a solid tumor targeting ovarian cancer. And these are women who have failed pretty much everything else and are essentially on death's door. And we're already starting to see some impact on these women.
Hey, Mike, Amit, I know that Mike's got a question about AI real quickly. Bring up that chart again for me in the control room. I think Dawes and Christy, if you can bring up the FDA chart one more time. If you talk about lung, colon, and prostate cancer, those are other solid tumor cancers. Is there a chance that your therapy, the modality of vaccine, either that or CAR therapy, can perhaps go beyond breast, ovarian, colon? I mean, potentially all solid tumor cancers if there's a fit?
Yes, that's exactly right. That's the vision. The success so far of the breast cancer vaccine in human clinical trials has induced us and our partner, the Cleveland Clinic, to conduct research on lung, prostate, and colon. And so between lung, prostate, colon, breast, and ovarian, those are, sort of the big 5 cancers. And if we can develop vaccines to prevent all of those cancers, that would be an amazing, amazing thing for the world.
Amit, how is AI assisting in the fight?
Well, AI is utilized in a number of different ways, and AI is a bit of a buzzword, but what we do is when we're looking for specific proteins that we want to target with our vaccines or antigens that we want to enable the immune system to target, we're utilizing a number of different computing approaches to look for those specific proteins. And once we've discovered them, we've already discovered them for breast cancer and ovarian cancer. We're in the process of doing that discovery for lung, prostate, and colon.
So the arc of the story for you, Amit, is that FDA goes through their clinical trials, and we're far along on the first one we talked about. Is there any idea in your mind on when this goes to market, and will it be a situation where you do a risk-averse model where a bigger company might bring it to the market, or will you take this all the way to the doctor's offices and the surgery suites?
Our plan is to take it and partner it with a bigger company to help facilitate not only the completion of the final clinical trials, but all of the manufacturing, marketing, distribution, and so forth. They all have the infrastructure to do that. It would be prohibitive for a small company to do that ourselves.
Because that is the risk-averse model for folks like you. Then you go on to the next therapy, correct?
That's exactly right. Our goal is to innovate and then get it to a point where big pharma is interested in taking it to the market.
Amit Kumar, you'll see him next week. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. He is the chairman and CEO of Anixa Biosciences. ANIX. You hear us talking about him here all the time on the program. Anixa focused on the treatment and prevention of cancer using immunotherapy, harnessing our own vaccine.